Right now, what we're doing and what we're seeing is people taking it out on other people instead of taking responsibility for how we feel. And instead, we're giving that responsibility to other people, other religions, other races, other thoughts, ideas, and we're placing blame. And what that does is justify the pain. And it also alleviates my responsibility to deal with my own shit. And so I get to give it away and I get to carry the hate instead of wonder why it is. Welcome to Forged in Silence podcast addressing issues men face but rarely talk about. Today we have Alec back with us. It's nice to have you back, man. It's thank you for right now they're technical.
You're going to be talking about it like the Geek Squad or something.
Can we talk about how technology is
Maybe they can help you
causing my own mental health issues right now?
Well, this all goes in
does
line
go
with
in
what we're
line
going to
with
talk
it.
about today, pretty much.
You're absolutely right. But before we start digging into anything, Alec, I want to say thank you for joining us again. It's nice to have you back. Thank you for, the last
Thank you.
minute.
It's good to be here.
It's nice to have you back on. I feel like you're probably going to be a fairly regular guest when we want to share a conversation with another guy. So, Robbie, how about you take this one over for a little hot minute while I work through my technical difficulties and try and get me back on air. And
all right, you're going to try to jump back in?
Yeah, I'm going to try and do something here.
Okay. Well, of course, we always start off with, how are you really? So since Steve's got to really fix his issues, we'll go with Alec. How are you doing, really?
Yeah, thanks. I am really, I don't know, man. Been kind of an interesting week. Work's been super hectic. A lot of stress going on there. And lady troubles. Those are never fun. When you think that things are good and they're not. Without getting into too much detail on that, it's just been, I don't know, kind of a whirlwind of emotions this week. And this next week, I know I'm dreading because I've got a training class that's 4 out of my 5 days, and it's going to be a nightmare because I know there's going to be things pulling me in every direction. So, like I said, a little bit of stress going on there, and I don't know. I ended up going out to the mountains Friday night. Well, Friday, did a overnighter little hiking trip. I was going to do a backpack or one night backpack trip in, but I ended up cutting it short because I was feeding my dog and I realized that I only gave her about a day and a half worth of food instead of 2.5 days of food. So we had to cut that trip short, but it was all right because we ended up doing a nice trip over Ophir Pass outside of Telluride. And then went over to Ouray, got to see some really nice fall colors on the trees, and then hit some hot springs. And so it ended up being a really nice weekend. Kind of got my mind off of things and a little bit of a reset. Not as much of one as I wanted to be or wanted to. Just I wouldn't have actually been here on the podcast today if I had been able to stay out there as long as I could or wanted to. So that's kind of how it went for me this weekend and this last week. What about you, Robbie? How are you doing? Really?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I kind of had a big relief of some stress going on in my life. As listeners know, my father passed away September 5th. Then I had a 200-mile race that I didn't train for, but I still jumped in and did. I was pretty excited just to go reset with that, as you were kind of talking about, Alec. And, it was good till it wasn't. It was in Nebraska, flat as a pancake, called the Cowboy Trail. Starts in Norfolk, Nebraska, and the trail actually goes to Shadron, Nebraska, but the race ended in Valentine. I made it about 38 miles before my body didn't want to go anymore. And I would be lying if I knew I wasn't going to finish. I was just going out to see what I could do. The emotional exhaustion from everything that's been going on in my life was pretty heavy. A lot of stuff was going on that I was dealing with, and I didn't set myself up for it. I don't know if you can, but I thought I did. I was waking up exhausted. Every little thing I would do all day, I'd just come home and want to sleep. I'm sure there's some depression in there, some other stuff going on. So, but I'm glad that part's over. Having the death and having this big race right there after and not training for it was a lot of stress. So it's a big relief. I'm ready to start a new chapter, I guess you could say, where I start over and start doing things for me. This race was for me, but it wasn't. Father's passing, was part of my life. My daughter's got a lot of stuff going on and has more stuff going on with her mother. So that's still there, but I'm in a pretty good place right now. I feel overcome some battles with myself. So it's like, that relief is there. I'm kind of like you, Alec. I didn't get a full reset I wanted, but I'm in a better place. Now it's Steve's turn.
Other than the mild frustration I'm having right now with the technical difficulties, they call things plug and play, and when you plug them in, they play for a little bit, and this time they only play for a short period of time. Hopefully, this lasts longer. I haven't done anything different, so hopefully this lasts longer than what it did before. But anyways, apart from the mild technical difficulty frustration, because I love it when this works, and when technology doesn't work, it's frustrating. So besides that, I feel pretty inspired. I feel, as much as I feel like the tension in this world that we currently have is a really unhealthy one, I'm inspired. I just came from a TED Talk Grand Junction yesterday, and I got to listen to some speakers that really touched home for me. Like, it was actually kind of an emotional experience while listening to a couple of these speakers say some of the things that I haven't really put words to yet, and be really, really relatable. And so I feel really good. I feel good with where I'm at in my life. I feel good with the growth. I feel good with the level of self-awareness that I do have. I don't know. I got a lot of validation for a bunch of the work that I've done to improve myself and understand where my responses and reactions come from, and how to work through them in a different, healthy way, so I can just keep being a better version of me. And so the main theme that I got out of listening to most of those talks is almost every single person talked about connection. Almost every single person talked about how that's important, and how we are lacking that right now as people. And so uh, that's something I feel like deeply. I don't know, it was interesting to hear some people, some thought leaders, maybe people that were upcoming thought leaders, share their experiences. And so what it comes down to, how am I really? I'm inspired. I feel good. I went up to the mesa today and stood in yellow aspens and just enjoyed that smell. That smell is something you wish you could put in a candle or incense or something, so your whole house could smell like that. I see you guys both know what that's like, and it's just, there's, as soon as you walk into an aspen grove and that smell hits you, you're like, man, this is amazing. And so, yeah, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Thanks for asking. Appreciate that.
Well, the topic today we're going to talk about is how social media is playing. I want to put this more in a broader way too. It's social media, and because I was thinking about this after the topic, was talked about this morning. Even the connections we have, as you were talking about, Steve. I was trying to dissect all this stuff. Where's it all coming from? And the topic is how people are becoming dehumanized, mainly with social media, because that's where a lot of us get our news and all of our social, I guess, gatherings, we can say these days, most people, and how it's affecting our mental health, especially men. I feel like with what's going on in the world right now, everyone's getting put into their silo. And if you speak out of your silo, you could say all those keywords that I don't want to say because I don't agree with any of that stuff. And I don't want to go super political, but
I was just thinking demonized.
we have now demonized a good word. Yeah. Yeah. You're a nobody. Your opinions don't matter. But I was really trying to think like, so when I was walking in Nebraska, the person I was with, we were talking about how crazy everything is, and we both agree. And I've been trying to find someone that has a different opinion, and I can't find that. And I've been searching for that, and it feels a little weird to me because I'm trying to get. I wouldn't say I am in the silo, but I'm trying to seek outside of that and find someone else's differing opinion. But I feel like I'm putting myself in a silo, even though I'm trying to find that other opinion of why what's going on. And I can't find that. But if I want to find it real quickly, I can jump on social media or YouTube or any of that, and I can find that. But it's not an honest discussion. Like Steve said, demonizing that other person for their opinion. And I know with men right now, I know this affects women, but this is a men's podcast. A lot of men have to stay silent with their relationships with their friends and in their work because their opinion differs. And we talk a lot about you don't have to suffer in silence. And I know right now there's so many people suffering in silence with what's going on in the world because they have a different opinion than someone else. And that's okay. We all have different opinions. I'm sure the three of us don't agree on a lot of stuff, but we don't demonize the other person because we don't agree with what their opinion is. And doing the soul searching, trying to find someone other opinion, and I can't. I don't know where it's all coming from. If I surround myself with people that are, and I try to do this, that are keeping me growing and appreciate my growth and want to see me succeed, is that why I don't see it? Or do I just disassociate with anything that may be there, and I don't run from it, but I don't listen to it, even though I'm asking for it. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like we're in a very weird place right now with the whole world. There's a lot going on, and I don't want to look back 10 years from now and go, what the fuck did we do to help this? What didn't we do to help this? Because I know every time we have some of these big events, if we don't talk about it and move forward, when we look back, we can see the destruction that was caused. And in my heart, I don't want to be a part of that problem. I want to do everything that I can to give people, open dialogue, have their opinion, disagree, not, but just to have a conversation.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Robbie. It seems like for me as just an individual, the world is so big and there's just seems like there's nothing that I can do. And I can get on the internet and I can make a comment and it's going to get buried in a million other comments. And maybe a few people will read it and then they're going to disagree with me or agree with me, whatever. Typically people are going to frequent the places on the internet that they're in their echo chambers. I mean, we hear that term all the time, echo chamber. And, you find the people that you agree with. And I mean, why would you seek out people that you disagree with? And so it does make it difficult to try to, because I completely see what you're saying. There's a lot of just crazy things that are happening right now in the world. And I think it's only going to get worse, especially if everybody is just hiding behind their keyboard and they're, making their keyboard warrior comments or whatever you want to call it. People can be against this and for that, but until they actually stand up and take action, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. And as far as the day-to-day personal interactions, I think that most people actually have a lot more in common than we think. When we're on the internet, it's just it's such a toxic place because you feel so empowered when you find people that agree with you. And then you feel so attacked by complete strangers that you've never met and you'll never, ever meet. And yet, if you walk outside, touch some grass and talk to your neighbor, you may not, like you said, us three, we probably don't agree on everything. I know Steve and I have had a couple conversations and we don't agree on everything.
But it's great dialogue.
And that's okay.
Right? It's great dialogue. Yeah. We definitely don't agree on some things, but we can also sit down and disagree and then listen to each other's point of view. We still don't have to agree. We still don't have to. Like, we're still friends, even though there's no resolution to the conversation that we had. Right? And I thought it was a fantastic conversation because we both got passionate about it. Not once did we treat each other with disrespect, right? Like we still held each other in esteem while having the conversation. And on the internet, it's so easy to just be, like you call the keyboard warrior, which is a way nicer name than what I was just about to say. Like you seriously, there's the consequences to what most people deal with on the internet is almost nothing. You can type whatever the heck you want for the most part, other than the odd person that we see who lost their job because they said something stupid and their boss found it. Like, we don't have a freedom of consequence here. Like, I can still post something and my boss find it and not like it and be like, oh man, you know what? Not for That's
We
not
don't share
for
the same
us.
values.
We like, you're either going to stop
Yeah.
that, take it down or whatever, or it's too late, right? Or it's too late. When it comes down to is, if I go, look at this, weird. Anyways, if I go and say something and type something on the internet that is rude, that I generally wouldn't say to somebody else, the chances of me getting punched in the face because that was my neighbor is super, 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 super low. Right? I'm never going to see that person. I'm never going to touch that person. I'm never going to have a conversation with them. So the risk is really low for the reward of me having an emotional reaction to something somebody wrote. That might not even be true. That might not even be factual. Yet I'm going to go ahead and put energy into a space that is just going to create more polarization. So we emotionally react to things that have really no consequence in our lives other than the fact that it's somebody else's idea floating in the abyss.
We lost him.
Floating in the ether as Steve just disappeared again. He'll be.
Want me to share my
You're,
thoughts?
yeah, you're still here. Awesome.
Obviously, your thoughts don't matter. You know what
Man,
Steve
so
was
much truth.
saying, it reminds me of I think the quote by Mike Tyson that everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And when you're on the internet, there is no getting punched in the mouth. If you step outside and talk to your neighbor, there's a chance you might get punched in the mouth, depending on what you say. And I don't know, man. I think just people get way too passionate about this stuff. I don't know. My mind keeps going to what happened today in Michigan, I believe. Looks like you know what I was getting at there,
Yeah.
Robbie. At an LDS church, a guy ran into it with his truck and got out, started shooting people. He had some IEDs and set the church on fire. It sounds like if the identity of the man that I was reading about is true, he was an ex-Marine, a family man, and my mind just went to why? What led to him doing this? And the only thing that I could think of, and it's just speculation, so I could be wrong, but it had to be the Charlie Kirk murder.
Mhm.
The young man that killed Charlie Kirk was an LDS or grew up LDS, and it had to be tied to that in some way, shape, or form. And so this guy, several states away, decides that all LDS people are bad and I need to kill them. And while I'm not a religious person at all, I grew up actually LDS, but I have no affiliation with that church anymore. I still, it's not right. None of it. The Charlie Kirk murder, this thing that happened today, it's absolutely ridiculous that people are getting that worked up over anything, online or otherwise, that they're going around killing people. Like, what is that? That just doesn't make sense to me. And so I don't think that the people are thinking about those consequences. Now, this guy today, maybe he did think about the consequences because he was in the Iraq war. I'm sure that he knew what the end result was going to be. And for those that may have not have heard of it that are listening in right now, he was killed by the police in a shootout. Like I said, I just can't imagine I can't imagine what led to that happening. And it just makes me think of the internet, that he probably was on the internet reading forums, thinking about how bad the Mormons are, and I've got to kill them, as many of them as I possibly can.
Yeah. That, like, this question I keep having is, what is the fear all these people have? What is the deep downside fear that is making them act this way, talk this way? All those things is what deep rooted fear is it? And If we could just ask them, what is your fear? I would love to hear what their fear is.
What you just asked that question about where the fear comes from. I was reading about racism recently, kind of weirdly, and basically it is believed, and I can't remember where I read this, but it is believed that people are typically racist because they're afraid of something that they don't know. They just don't understand it. So maybe a white man does not understand Black culture, and so he just automatically doesn't like it. And I think the same goes for religion. When somebody doesn't understand another religion, then they don't like it and they want to get rid of it. A lot of religions, especially back 1800s, they were persecuted quite a bit. So back in the days, religion, when one person believed one thing, they would kill other people in religion because they didn't like what they had to say because it was different. And when one person believes one thing, that's one thing that really drives me nuts about human beings is they have to be right about everything.
It ended up happening to him. I just changed my camera up. Wherever you ended off, because I caught a little bit as I was dealing with my technical difficulties. It seems like Robbie's dealing with his too. I think collectively, we're seeing a lot of the pain that men and women have right now that is undealt with. So when I have a reaction to undealt with pain, trauma, whatever that may be, and I haven't worked to heal that, then I'm going to take that out on other people, generally speaking. And right now, what we're doing and what we're seeing is people taking it out on other people instead of taking responsibility for how we feel. And instead, we're giving that responsibility to other people, other religions, other races, other thoughts, ideas, and we're placing blame. And what that does is justify the pain. And it also alleviates my responsibility to deal with my own shit. And so I get to give it away and I get to carry the hate instead of wonder why it is I am so beat up and bent up about it where I can't turn around and say, okay, collectively, we know this part of this one thing is not right. It's not right to dehumanize people. It's not right to take the lives of people that even have different ideas than we do. We know that part isn't right. What are we doing to get the people that are carrying around enough anger that that's where they're at to get them the help they need? Because we need a care first mentality, not a fucking take them out too type of mentality. Like if we keep going the way we're going, where it's I'm going to create more violence to protect, and then we're going to create more violence to protect, and we're going to create more violence to protect. All we're doing is creating violence instead of finding a place of sanity and coming from there.
Yeah, unfortunately, the internet has just created such a breeding ground for all the hate.
Yeah. And it's a safe place for it to go. And it's not,
yeah,
but it is a safe place for it to go. You know what I mean? Like it's an easy, maybe it's, that's the wrong word. It's an easy place for it to go because the consequences of it are essentially inconsequential for most people.
Yeah. And when you find somebody online that starts speaking in maybe a charismatic way and they're saying things that you agree with, then anything else that they say, you're going to start agreeing with them. You're going to look at them as if you're going to look up to them, think that they've got it all figured out. And most of us, none of us have it all figured out. We're all just kind of navigating through life the best that we can. And we're picking up ideas here and there from people that we like and, places that we like and religions that we like or whatever. Doesn't mean that we're right. It just means that it sounds right. And I'm not saying that anybody's wrong. I'm not pointing anybody out. But when you start listening to these people that are toxic, then it starts to kind of take off from there. The guy that starts talking about these toxic things, he might start feeling more empowered and start saying more and more crazy things. And then, as we all know on the internet, the algorithms are driven by engagement, and engagement is doesn't matter if it's good or bad. So rage bait things, good, bad, the ugly, doesn't matter. And so people just start saying crazier and crazier things. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's how we get like flat earthers and things like that.
Mhm.
Anybody out there is a flat earther? Not trying to offend, but you're wrong. And I'm not going to debate that with you either. But I mean, that's what I'm saying is people they start saying the craziest things just to get engagement. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, I heard him say something that was true, that I liked, that I agree with. And so everything that he says going forward, he or she says has got to be accurate and right. And I'm going to parrot whatever
It's
they have to
interesting
say.
how we can make somebody an authority figure on something because they teach us a little bit about something and also hold maybe a value or two that we believe they carry as well. So then it's like, oh, they're just like me. They have the same thoughts I do, yada, yada, yada. They must be right.
And you know nothing about
How
that person.
often? I think this needs to be a question to everyone in the audience, everyone who ends up listening to this. How often do you fact check the information that you agree with? Because I'll tell you that I don't fact check very much because I don't have the freaking time. That's not that important to me. And I get caught in that cycle of thought, that echo chamber, because we create our own echo chambers. And I'll get caught in that every once in a while myself, where I need to, like Robbie, look outside of the box that my algorithm has created for me, because that's what's happening, and look up other things just to see something different. Because when I look at my social media, I get sick of seeing my own shit. I get sick of it.
Mhm.
Like, it's not, first of all, it's not social. It's not really social. What social actually means, and you said it earlier, Alec, touch grass, talk to your neighbor. That's social. Get outside, share a moment, look someone in the goddamn eyes. This is a close second, but look someone in the eyes and shake a hand, touch a baby, do something nice, be kind. Like, as people, how many of us, if somebody was to come and ask you for help, would you be willing to help? Yet we're all afraid of each other. It's ridiculous.
I had a thought and I lost it. But I'm going with my next thought here is the social part, like you said, Steve. I want to know how many of these people are out there that have, these different opinions or just hiding behind their screen.
How lonely
saying
are they?
what they want.
I wonder how lonely they
It-
are. That's what I wonder.
Yeah, because that's where I'm at, because I think if you had, let's face it, when we got in trouble in school and we had to go sit down and sit in front of the principal, that was very awkward. Or with our parents or our grandparents or with the friends' parents or whatever, right? You had to sit down and you were in trouble. That was very awkward. For the most part, you left as a better person. You were told what you did wrong. You were told how to fix it. You said you were sorry and you moved on, right? Sometimes there was resentment. Sometimes there wasn't. You're like, oh yeah, I was being a little shithead. I did this, right? This goes back to hiding behind something that there's no consequences. We're seeing some consequences now, but that is only for money, right? It's a job. So they're taking their money, they're taking something that they survive with away from them, which feels like the end of the world. I understand that. But that's the consequence. The consequence of, harming another human being in this country is all over the place. Depending where you live, it may be okay to harm another person.
But we lack,
depending on
we lack community. And when we lack community, we lack the ability of someone normally that would say, hey, dude, you're doing something stupid. Straighten your ass out.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, I don't agree with that.
Yep.
That's just wrong. Oh, man, I just need to get this shit off my chest. Blah, 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 blah. I fucking hate this. But get it off your chest, right? Have someone that's just willing to listen and carry on. We're so afraid of doing that shit now. And because we don't see each other, we don't touch grass, we don't do that sort of thing, we get caught in it. We're so disconnected and we're screaming to be a part of something that it doesn't matter what it is now. We just want to be a part of something because it feels like it has meaning.
That's the connection.
Yeah, we're screaming for it. That's what it looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that humans were designed to be um, sitting behind a computer screen and that's our only
Mm-hmm.
connection with other people. Throughout history, men had, I mean, this is a men's podcast, so I'm going to talk about men. Men had friends, they had close friends. Now, obviously, we weren't there, so I don't know what these men talked to each other about, but likely they talked about life and what was going on, what was stressing them out, what they wanted to do, their thoughts, their feelings, their desires, what, the things that they were reaching for. And we just don't have that anymore. We have right now it's the hardest time in history for people to make friends, because if I am walking down the street and I see another dude who's wearing a hat that I'm wearing, I could say something, "Hey, how's it going? Cool hat, man. I got the same hat." And he'll look at me like I'm an idiot, like I'm a loser because he doesn't want to be friends with me because he doesn't know me, because it's just the way that society is now. Trying to go back in time to where people just treat each other like people and become friends and be vulnerable enough to talk about the things that you need to talk about to be and remain friends. That's difficult. That's been a real challenge for my life. I had some really close friends in high school and I don't keep in touch with them anymore. And it makes me sad. There are some underlying reasons for that were kind of outside of both of our control, but it happened. And after that, I'd get into one relationship and focus on that and not want to go outside of the relationship and hang out. And I'd have friends from work or whatever that would invite me to do stuff. And, oh no, I got to hang out with the girlfriend or whatever. And I lost all that connection with other men. You say no to hanging out with friends enough times and they're just going to stop asking. And that's exactly what had happened to me. And those that have watched the other podcasts that I was on, I started a men's group locally here in our town. And we've got some guys that have become really good friends. I've made some really close friends already. We've only been around for about 6 months. And that's been one of the biggest things that has helped me in my life. I still get on the internet and, read the news and occasionally make dumb comments. Half the time I'll write out a comment and then delete it, thinking to myself, what am I
Been
even
there,
doing
done
here?
that.
Like this, yeah, it doesn't even make any sense. In fact, I did that like 2 or 3 times today. I was just on Reddit scrolling and I'm like, well, this is going to be so good. This is going to be dumb. I'm not going to, I just don't want to be doing that anymore. Like, I don't mind reading the comments, but I just don't want to be commenting anymore. But like I said, that real human connection. Today I went to the gym with a friend. He reached out. He knew that I was going out of town this weekend and asked if I had made it back yet. And I, obviously I'm here. And he's like, well, do you want to go play some pickleball or, go to the gym or something? I was like, yeah, I was planning on going to the gym anyway. And so we had a really good workout and we chatted for a little bit and it was really good. And, I've been missing that in my life. And it was so much better than getting on the internet and reading stupid stuff. And I don't know what, there's just nothing on the internet that's going to replace that human to human connection. And we've made social media such a place to, I don't know, to replace it. It's just a time killer is all that it is. Like, I think the running theme for this is going to be get outside and touch some damn grass.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
we should name
Talk to
the
people.
episode, Robbie. Get up.
Well, it's funny you say that because this morning I woke up and um, I drove home from Nebraska yesterday. Got home, I was pretty tired, and got home, did my stuff, hung out with my daughter a little bit. Then I woke up this morning and I told myself I need to go outside. So I got some stuff together, grabbed the dog, went and got some coffee, then I went outside, and I was outside for 4 or 5 hours. Drove around, hiked to a different couple places, let the dog run around. I didn't see anyone, didn't have any interactions, but I knew the state I was in that I needed to be outside. And I know myself that if I continue to go down the path that I was going on, that I would just stay inside. I wouldn't go do the things that help me because I'd play the victim in my own head and say, well, just poor me, right? All these poor me things. So I knew today was a big day to get outside and just go walk around with the dog, let the dog run around. We drove around, had a great time, thought about a lot of things. And Another thing that I was thinking about while I was driving around is, my grandfather was a Mason, then became a Shriner. And I would always ask my dad about those men groups, and he would laugh at me. And, he would just say, oh, those are old dick club, those type of things. And I don't know if you guys have heard that, but all those, the Shriners, the Masons, the other clubs, they had this stigma around them. I don't know if it's still there, it might still be there, but I just remember growing up that that's where all the old men went and did shady shit. And now I'm looking back, you know what? That's where they went out and got their freedom. They had to go do that, hang out with other men, talk about whatever they talked about, and did their thing. And they had to do it in private. Why did they have to do it in private? Because they didn't want to be belittled or any of the other stuff. Could you imagine now if, you know, with social media, like showing grandpa going to Mason thing? Well, look, grandpa's all dressed up in his goofy ass thing or his Shriner thing, right? He'd get made fun of on social media by his grandkids, his wife, whatever else. And I'm just like, they had it right. They still have it right because those groups are still around. And, I've been asking people about them that know anything about them. And, it's very secretive how you get in and all that stuff. And I understand why. But I just wonder if their numbers are dropping or if they're increasing um, right now. And I always, my grandma was in, my great grandmother was in, I can't remember what it was, but it was a women club. When the men would go to do the Shriner stuff, they went and did something else. I can't remember what it was. But she was a part of a women's club too. And I going back to that connection, like we can all get on our phone or on our computer and get on social media and we feel connected immediately. But like you were saying, Steve, it's not real. It's not face to face. You're not, touching the ground, touching the grass. Then we can hide behind all that, like we've been talking about. And I often wonder how real that is. How real are those people? Or are they putting on a front to be liked by other people because they don't have something in their life and they need to put that facade on that they are something. Us three right here can sit down and have an honest conversation, and we're just being men. Look up to each other. We can grow from each other. There's no jealousy of accomplishments or stuff like that. And some of the lessons I'm trying to, teach my daughter is watch out for what you see on there because it's not real for the first part. And second, it's a show and you're reading words and you're interpreting those words how you want to interpret those words. When we sit here and talk, you see my emotions, you see my body language. A lot of times when we get text or emails, we don't know how that person, if they're angry, if they're sad, if they're happy, any of those things. So we've lost that part too with the emotions. But I'm really trying to, show her it's a very dangerous world when you look up to these people that aren't real. And we're seeing a lot of that. And, going back to that Michigan guy where my internet died on me. It's just like, did he have enough? Was he attacking all this stuff? And, the news doesn't do us a very good justice because it's another rage bait thing and whatever they want to say, make the craziest headline about why he did it. And, one side doesn't want to tell why they did it. The other side's making up stories. And I feel like we've lost the truth in a lot of stuff. Even, with ourselves, we've lost a lot of truth. If we're being honest, a lot of times when I ask my daughter why she did something, she'll say, I don't know, or whatever, something. Then once, I drag it out of her, she'll be honest with me. And I often feel, why is this so hard? Why do we have to fight so hard to drag out honesty in people these days?
There's a lot of fear that exists, and there's a lot of fear that gets multiplied. We have access to more information now than we've ever had before. And so if you want to find something that supports your idea, you will. And if you want to find something that doesn't, you will. And we're so, like, if you go pre all of this stuff, pre-internet, pre-social media, pre-year 2000, where you had a flip phone if you were lucky and you were typing You know, you were hitting 3, 4 times, and then if you pressed it too many times, you had to do it all over again.
Yep. Yeah. Texting really
It
slow.
Your access to instant gratification was really, really low compared to what it is now. The access I have now to instantly gratify the way I feel is like that, a comment, a post, a feeling, a thought. It happens so fast now, we don't know what to do with it. We think we do.
And we can take that,
There's way too much
we can take that
information.
even deeper with food.
Yeah. I mean,
we can keep going, right?
it's
We can get anything to make us feel what we need to feel right now.
this is the world we live in.
I mean,
I'm not even saying we need to change it. I'm saying we need to be aware of
yeah, I think awareness is the most important thing there.
awareness and responsibility. Personal responsibility.
There's a woman, I can't remember if she's a psychologist or what, but she wrote the book Dehumanization. Yeah, I think it's Anna Lemke, I think is what her name is. And I've listened to a couple podcasts with her on it. And yeah, I think that's a really good point that you made, Steve. That instant gratification, it's everywhere. And I really don't think that it's good for humans. I think that waiting for things.
We're teaching ourselves to get angry when we don't get the thing that we want immediately.
Yeah. Throwing a temper tantrum. You know, parents, when their kids have a temper tantrum, they just hand them the iPad and they just don't want to deal with it, which I understand completely. It makes sense. But it's that instant gratification. When a kid wants something, they get it because mom and dad don't have the time. They're too stressed. They're just going to give you what you want so that you'll leave them alone for now, and then they can deal with it later, which never ends up coming because now the kid's fine. And so the kids nowadays, they go through life just getting whatever they want. And then when it's time to get into the real world, we now have a society where people are screaming at the manager because they didn't get, their packet of ketchup. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or the right kind of soy cream in their latte. And I'm not making fun of anybody in particular, but you see what I'm saying. Instead of just like being kind to other people. Like the one thing that I found is that people just don't like dicks. They just don't like mean people. There's people that are mean and rude. They're probably going to fight against you and push back and not give you what you want anyways. So if you just like be patient with other people and realize that, hey, not everything is going to go my way. I may have to wait, for 4 people to go through the line before I can get my latte the way that I want it. But that if I just freak out and go to the front and spill or throw my coffee at the barista who's making minimum wage, that's not good for our society. That's not good for you and your mental health. That's just going to create a situation where people see that and they see that no consequences happen to that person. And so now they're going to be doing it as well the next time their latte isn't correct. And I mean, obviously this is just such a basic example, but that, instant gratification, it runs deep in porn and finances and gambling and things like that. Nowadays, young men, and I'll bring it back to young men don't have the same ability anymore to go to school and get a college education. It used to be that men would get a bachelor's degree. It was about 6-4 men to women. And now the tables have turned and it's about 6 women to every 4 men that are getting a college or
Yep.
As a result, we're also, which don't get me wrong, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm glad that we've done the work that we've done to get women propped up. But unfortunately, what has happened is that we've pushed men down instead of propping everybody up. It's not a zero-sum game, and I'm parroting Richard Reeves, who's the founder of the National Institute of Boys and Men. It's not a zero-sum game. We can be happy. We can continue to have the same benefits for women, but we can also help men too. There are a lot of organizations that help women. And the same organizations do not exist for men and boys. And I think that's something that does need to change. Anyways, I was talking about money and gambling is kind of where I was getting at. I took a detour there. I'm going to get us back there, I swear. So young men are not graduating college or even going to college. And I'm not, That's fine. I didn't go to college, but they're also now not able to make as much money as we used to be able to. And so social media, you get onto TikTok and, whatever else, Instagram, and you see, these super handsome guys and super attractive ladies, and they're on their private jets that they probably just rented for a day, and their Bugatti that they rented for a day. And they're like, I've literally heard influencers that say things like, if you don't have a Ferrari by the time you're 21, then you're failing at life. That's the most insane thing that I've ever heard. A Ferrari by 21 years old or whatever the age is. And then they inevitably they want you to buy some, self-help thing that they're selling
That's
or something
written
like
by
that.
AI.
Probably,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's not even created
And so,
by them.
yeah. And so that now you have a bunch of young men who are like, well, that dude's super handsome. He's getting all these super hot girls. He's got this really nice car and a huge mansion. And here I am, I'm 25. I'm past that age. I'm a huge loser. What am I going to do? And so young men end up turning to things like gambling and, maybe even potentially crime. Gambling is the number one fastest growing addiction in the US nowadays. And it's a serious problem. It's destroying people's lives, and it's all of that instant gratification.
Yeah.
And where do we go from there? I mean, we already shut down the online gambling once, and it's back in full force.
Yeah. Even
And I know that's not the only problem there. It's all of social media, and not all of social media is going anywhere, at least anytime soon. So I don't know. I guess that's the question that is to be posed. And I think honestly, on a local level for me, excuse me, I think on a local level for me, it's to try to have those one-on-ones with those, face to face with people, and try to I don't know. I'm a bit of a masochist, so I like to hurt myself. I like to go out in the mountains and just kill myself out there, metaphorically speaking, by doing hard
Yeah,
stuff, really hard
that's
shit.
challenging your body, right? It's
It is.
challenging your body, and then that's challenging your mind. You can call it a little bit masochistic. I get it, right? Robbie just went and ran the
Yeah,
Cowboy 200 and stopped out at 38 miles to prevent any more damage. You know what I mean? I hiked 75
which is
miles of
about
the
36
Colorado
more
Trail.
miles than I
What's
could do.
that?
So, which is about 36 more miles
I
than I
mean,
could do.
I packed myself up once and decided to see how far I could run without any training, and I did what was it, 9 miles, Robbie? Almost 10, something like that. I was 9 miles and change. And man, I was hurting for like 2 weeks after that. Like that was rough. And the last 2 miles, I was in my own pain cave for sure. But I get it.
Going out and doing those hard things, I think for me, I think it strengthens your mind and obviously your body as well. And then it makes all the easy stuff a lot easier.
Creates a
And it
level of
makes,
resilience that you don't get unless you reach that point.
exactly. And it also makes it easier to refrain from things, to look at that instant gratification, like, oh, I'm a little short on funds this month. Instead of paying cash for this thing that I want, I'm gonna, pay for it with the credit card, which has 30% interest. So instead of paying $10, I'm gonna be paying $30 for it. Well, that's 300%, whatever it is,
Yeah.
I mean, do I need that thing that bad? Or can I wait until next month when I do have a little extra cash? I try to practice that a lot too. And I'm not trying to say that I'm any better than anybody else, but practicing abstinence from things like that, it's so incredibly important to our minds and our health and our mental health. And if we keep on this track, if young men keep looking at social media and thinking, well, I better make a lot of money really fast because I don't have that Ferrari yet, and I'm already 22 years old, and no woman is ever going to want me if I don't have my Ferrari, so I better start gambling. And if we look at the statistics on gambling, holy smokes, man, people are just destroying their lives and they're just going into insane amounts of debt. And that's concerning. And that's, the rise of suicide is getting crazy when it comes to that too.
We're dogs sneezing like crazy. You brought up some good stuff there, Alec, with young men, social media, and the turning of the tables with women in college. I was hearing something the other day where, if a high school graduated man goes and calls a bunch of electrician companies and gets hired on as an electrician, or, A does that, then B does and goes to a trade school for 2 years, that A will make twice as much money in the long run as the guy that goes to college, because he's already going to be 2 years behind when he graduates college from where the guy that just signed up and started working. And we're seeing that now in the trades where, there's some crazy numbers by like 2050. There's going to be not enough plumbers in this world, United States anyways, to go around. And these plumbers will be able to charge triple, quadruple, and we won't be able to afford plumbers anymore. And, part of that flip too is now young men think they need to go get that arts degree or some other degree, which is fine, but they're not going to make that much money. They might be in debt from the college. It's like we've lost that hard work ethic of the young men. When I was in Nebraska, I was walking down this dirt road and they were grinding up silage for the cows. And these kids driving these big, huge pieces of equipment were probably 14 years old. They probably just got out of school or whatever, and they're driving equipment. And, the sheriff came by and he goes, they're going to be doing this all night. He's like, I'm just warning you guys, these trucks are going to be running all night. And just going to these small towns and seeing, people, men and women, still have to work to provide for their family, to keep that lineage alive, because that's what their family has, is a ranch or whatever. Then we go to a big cities and everyone's waiting for handouts. Everyone's waiting for, a scholarship or the government to pay for their school. And you can look at the rates of graduation from colleges, what those people make or how many do it. But you now look at social media, right? And you see, like you were saying, like that guy with the Ferrari, Bugatti, whatever, renting it. And a lot of those minds get turned, oh, tomorrow I can be an instant star. Tomorrow I can be making money if I do social media. So now their addictive personality is going to be an online influencer. So they're throwing all their eggs in the basket, men and women, to be influencers. And what does that mean to me? They're giving up a whole lot of stuff. They're on that phone trying to create content for the masses of people to get whatever famous, then start to make some money. Some people are going to make it, some people aren't. When I was a kid and I'd look up to actors and actresses, then you'd hear about how long it took them to become that. That's no more. Like, if you have good content, you could be a YouTube star tomorrow. You could be making a lot of money. So where do we go as a society to still continue to let these kids know that they need to work hard and, find some kind of craft that's not social media driven to be good at? I think when we look in the future, 50, 60 years from now, we're going to have a lot of trades where people are not going to be there anymore because everyone's chasing that influencers, chasing that money.
Comfort.
Or like you were saying, I like that guy feels like shit, because he's not doing anything and starts gambling, starts watching porn, lives in his parents' basement, which, could be a good thing if you're living in your parents' basement and you're working and you're putting money into yourself. But we see it all too often where they're not. Then we see all these random things happening. Suicide rates with young men are high. Young men, are not seeking partners anymore. All those things that we hear because they're not good enough. Girls or women these days are looking for...
Social media is telling them they aren't too, right? And
Exactly.
we're also reinforcing that whole narrative that if you walk up to a girl at a bar or at a restaurant or whatever, that, she's pretty, and as soon as you say something to her, you're a creep. I haven't experienced that one yet, but it's a thing. Even if it has...
To be fair, Steve, to be fair, you're only a creep if you're ugly to that girl.
But like, how are you supposed to...
If a handsome guy says the same thing...
How are you supposed to know that? because you can't tell if you're
Exactly.
attractive, if you're attractive in her eyes or not. Like you
Yeah,
take
and
your shot.
unfortunately, there have been too many creeps that have gone too far, and I think that's the biggest problem. I mean, if we're gonna go down that rabbit hole, which I don't know if you're intending to, but like if a guy tries to hit on a woman and she says no, men really don't like being told no, and especially nowadays. Like I said, we like that instant gratification. We like being given what we want when we want it. And to be honest, I think us men can be worse about it sometimes. So when we're told no, we don't like to take that as an answer. Or somebody told us, oh, she's just playing hard to get, so you need to keep trying. And instead of reading their body language, we're really bad about that. We know that men are bad at reading body language and reading between the lines. So like for me, if a woman says no, I'm just going to turn around. Okay, cool. Like if you wanted me to keep trying, then you shouldn't have said no.
Truth. That is the truth. Yep.
But it also fostered a society where men really don't like we don't like that rejection. And I'm no different. I'm single, and I will not approach a woman in public because I don't want her to feel uncomfortable. I don't want her to give me a fake number. That's going to feel crappy. And I don't want her to say no and be afraid that I'm going to follow her to her car.
The only way to change that narrative is to accept the no and not follow her to her car. Like, you're not how far do we take our responsibility to manage someone else's emotions?
Touche. That's a good point.
Right? Like, you're responsible to manage your emotions. And how she feels about the situation is her responsibility to communicate it. And then it's your responsibility, once it's handed back to you, to respond to that in a healthy way. And then it's up to us, other men, to say, dude, back the fuck off. That's not cool. And I think that's where our problem lies, is us as a collective guys need to stand up for the guys that are doing the right thing and correct the guys that are being dicks.
So what you're saying is stop following girls to their call.
Yeah, cars. I mean, so like right, but you see what I'm saying, right? I see what you're saying. I completely see what you're saying. But approach a girl, be uncomfortable, be afraid of the rejection. If the rejection happens, the rejection happens. The fake number thing, that's just her being afraid of saying no, which sucks. It sucks. The whole thing sucks. But how do you change the narrative if you can't stand in front of it? If you can't be the guy that's saying, okay, if this goes sour, I'm still going to be all right, right? My ego's going to be hurt. My pride's going to be hurt a little bit, sure, right? But, you have maybe a couple buddies back at home, and you're like, dude, I got shut down again. Shit, dude, that sucks, right? Like, at least we can share that with you. I would be willing to share that with you 100%. You and I just have started to get to know each other and hung out a couple of times. I like spending time with you. I really like who you are and what you stand for. You're going to be a person that I'm going to hang out with some more, plain and simple. And I mean that because
I appreciate that. And I enjoy hanging out with you too, Steve. Like, you give good advice and
it's perfect. It's perfect. But anyways, I think we should start getting this thing wrapped up. We could probably talk about this for another hour because
one thing before we start wrapping up, or we can wrap this up with this. We've talked a whole lot about the issue, but we haven't talked about how we can help. I think we need to leave with some stuff that we think can help or some options with our whole shit of talking shit.
I mean, this issue right here is so real and so relevant that you can have a whole entire podcast just based on the issues that are developed out of social media. Anyways, go for it, Robbie.
Well, I think, some of the options for help, and we talk about this all the time. And, if you're feeling this way and you're listening, just speak up. We're here. Reach out to a friend. If you don't have any friends, use that social media. So, send someone a message, send us a message. We're all here. We're open for communication. Even if you just say hi, all three of us can break the ice pretty easy. We're pretty good at, reading the room sometimes. And all three of us know how hard it is to break that ice. Alex started his own men group. Steve and I are here with this podcast doing what we can, but there's help out there. If you talk to coworkers, you have to find someone you can trust, though. I understand that's the hard part. But reach out. If it's to us, someone else, a family member, start there. And you might not get what you need right away, but just keep this is something that I still struggle with. You got to keep at it, right, Steve?
Man, it's taken me a good solid 3.5 years to finally of solid searching and going through people and letting trust out and then having vulnerable conversations and having short exchanges with people that end up dying out and piddling out. I mean, it happens. I've gone through is probably not the right term, but I've shared moments with a lot of people that I don't share moments with anymore. My group has gotten smaller and smaller, and it's ended up being that there's only I don't need 30 people. I can't manage 30 people. I can't manage that many relationships anyways. I can manage, a lot of those as acquaintances or people that you pick up the phone and ask for a favor because you're good people and you're doing good things. But the people that I've tried to share close relationships with and I've had close relationships with and we've grown apart over time. And I say this over the last 4.5 years, there's a very few people now that I will share the things that I want to share with. But like you're talking probably 100+ people. And and my inner circle has gone from 0. And some of those people have rotated through the inner circle to about 3 or 4 people. And like that to me is a great place to land. That is a soft place to land. But it's taken me 4 years of effort and trying and being rejected and learning how to be vulnerable and learning how to communicate and failing a shit ton of times. But I've had some really great experiences with those people too. They don't owe me anything. I don't owe them anything. We've shared those moments. We've grown together in those parts. Things aren't always going to be as permanent as we wish they would be, I think. And so if you can reach out to a stranger and have some of those moments, the moments that help you through some of the hard stuff, maybe that stranger becomes your next best friend, because that's who mine are right now. There were strangers that became my next best friend. You just don't know who's gonna land. That's all, and that's okay. Like, give it the best you can with what you have. Reach out to any of us or someone that you think you might be able to trust or somebody that you look up to and say, hey, can I ask you for some help? And I would imagine the likelihood of you hearing a no is probably like 1 out of 25, 1 out of 50. Like, your odds are pretty good that someone's going to want to lend a hand, even if it's a stranger. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, then I'll give it over to Alec. One of the beautiful things that I found too through this journey is people come and go, but then some people end up coming back to you. And when they come back to you, in my opinion, that means that you've struck a nerve with them, a good one,
Trust.
not a bad one. Yeah, and they're coming back to you because they have turned a blind eye to themselves or whatever, but there's some trust there. And when those people reach back out to me, it's like we never left off. That's how I treat them. Full respect. And I can't tell you how happy it makes me when someone comes back and asks me for opinion or tells me about how their life's going in just a few short words. Sometimes they disappear again, and that's okay. But you know what? Maybe that time of need, you help that person more than you'll ever know.
And I got so many things that are bouncing around in my head right now. I think that the first thing I want to say is that I know that reaching out to somebody is very difficult. And right now in this time in history, anxiety is more prevalent than ever. And I think that I heard recently, and I may have said this on that last podcast, but I heard recently that the cure to anxiety is action. Get out and do something. Go outside, touch some grass, talk to people. I'm an introvert and I hate talking to people, but I have forced myself to get out of my comfort zone and just
How's that worked out
doing
for
that
you?
hard thing. It's worked out amazingly. I'm probably the last person that you would have thought to start a men's group. And I'm not saying that everybody should start a men's group. I mean, it's great if you do, Hell, even in this town, that's fine if somebody else does it. Like there is a shortage of
Mhm.
men's groups, and not everybody's going to get along. And I think that there's plenty of room to have multiple men's groups in every town. And if you think that, I mean, you don't really even have to do anything, honestly. I started a Facebook page and a Discord, and just start conversations, invite people. I go hiking a lot, so that's kind of where it started. As I just, hey, if anybody wants to go hiking, let's go. I'm going to be going regardless whether anybody shows up or not. If you want to meet me there, great. If not, that's fine too. And I did a lot of stuff by myself that nobody showed up to, and that was fine. It got me outside. I touched some grass, and it was cool. But then the few times, like the first couple of times when people actually showed up, it was like, all right, this is cool. Like, probably never would have met these people any other way if I hadn't said, "Hey, let's go paddleboarding." And Steve said, "Yeah, let's do it." Let's see. There was one time that I held a barbecue, and actually I was thinking about doing another one of those here soon. Get more people. People love food. Lately, we've been doing Sunday morning coffee. We didn't do it today because I thought I was going to be out of town, but that Sunday morning coffee is just super easy,
Sunday
super
morning
low
coffee is
key.
a great show.
Yeah. And I'll credit you to that, Steve. You said that you wanted to start doing it, and I stole that
You
idea. I was just
you
like, yeah, let's
ran
do
with
it.
it, dude. It was great. It was great. I don't like steal with pride, man. Whatever works. I don't even.
Well, I just want to give you
I
credit because it was a
Yeah,
great
and
idea.
I'm all for that whenever I'm around. I'm out of town right now, but whenever I'm around, I can 8 o'clock in the morning is great. I mean, even if it's just
Yeah,
us two, we can shoot the breeze for an hour, no problem.
absolutely. And it's the same as always. Like, I mean, there was one week, the second week that I did it, nobody showed up. I think I did it last minute, and so I was there, grabbed a cup of coffee, got the people watch a little bit, and just
Mhm.
hang out. Did a little bit of social media scrolling, tried not to rot my brain too much, and then I left. I usually ride my bike down there, and because I live close by most of the coffee shops, and so it's kind of a cool chill morning. And but yeah, the first time we had like 8 people
Yeah,
that
it was
showed up.
cool.
The second time that people came, I think there was like 5 or 6 of us that were there. Anyways, yeah, like I said, anybody who's like, well, where do I find a community? That's another thing I was going to say. You need a community, but you also need a sense of purpose.
That's a good one.
That sense of purpose is, man, it is so important. And I've been floating through life with basically none. Had my financial goals, and I am kind of always focused on work. And work has always been super important to me. And I learned from my dad the work ethic. And we could talk about that for a long time too. Unfortunately, there aren't as many fathers these days that are teaching their kids good work ethic. And so I think that, going back to what you were saying, Robbie, with people in the trades, we're not seeing as many people getting into the trades because people aren't learning the work ethic that their father, or that my father, taught me, for instance. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think that that's another opportunity that could be potentially missed. We as men in our community, we can find that sense of purpose. I've been finding that sense of purpose with this men's group, and I'd like to expand that to maybe mentoring some younger men, younger boys, doing like a Big Brother type program or something like that, to give some kids the opportunity to see what it is to be a man. Women are wonderful. I consider myself a feminist. I think the things that we've done for women, giving them equal rights, is great. But there's no reason that we need to be keeping men pushed back, or not keeping, but pushing them back, and not allowing them to have the same benefits that women have and that men have always had previously. Unfortunately, fatherless homes are a big issue in the world these days. And we as men, myself, I'm a single man with no children, and so I don't have kids to teach. So I find that as an opportunity for me to potentially help out some kids that may not have a father. So that's what I've got.
Thanks for wrapping it up. I think everyone
Yeah.
shared some really awesome, valuable tips and tools there at the end. What it comes down to is, what did I say to my roommate? I was like, yeah, you ain't going to make friends and you ain't going to meet people from your couch. It's just not going to. I mean, I've met a lot of fantastic people online, but I've gotten off my couch to go and meet them in person and create relationships with them afterwards. It's a great tool, but it's not the resource. People need people. We all need each other. This is what it comes down to. We all need each other. The connection that we're looking for isn't on the other side of the phone. It's outside touching grass. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us, Alec. Really appreciate you guys. Really appreciate you being here.